Recording. Okay, cool. So you guys should be able to see my screen once you connect, once your PC finishes updating. If it's not finished updating, you can always look up at the front. There's that record for you as well. Since we're live, you guys should be off your phones. You should be dialed into what we got going on here. Okay, so to submit project 1.1, hi, good morning. We're in the Zoom room, just talking about just getting the day started. Project 1.1, you need to have all three of these mini projects completed. Each of the three mini projects right here, you need to have at least one vectorization. We'll get into some extra challenge stuff here in a second. At least one vectorization, at least one retro line layout using at least each of the pieces. So the pizza slice, the three corners, the half pipe, and the or the macaroni, and the straight line. You got to use at least those pieces at least once. And then the mountain logo, just follow the tutorial as much as you can. You can also freestyle a little bit on that one. Anyways, talk about exporting. There's that Zoom room from Friday, but we'll go over it one more time real quick. And then if you're looking for some extra challenge, if you're already completed with these three and you want just to continue practicing, you can do another vectorization of your choice using either of the methods, the video method or the method that I showed you, not the YouTube video method, I mean. You can do another retro line design or arrangement. You can mix up the colors. You can mix up some of the corner pieces. Put your phone away, please, real quick. Or you can create your own circular logo. But we will be doing something as a class. One of our projects is to create a logo. So you could kind of get a jump start on that, but we'll be covering something like that officially shortly. And then the rest of today is just about work time on your line project and checking to make sure that you're doing it correctly. All right, so real quick, I'm going to go through, I'm going to open up my line project from first, oh, this is web design, whoops, graphic design. Okay. So here we are. I just have my retro line and my vectorize. So I'm going to click on both of those and then hit enter so that we can see where we're at with those. I'm taking attendance while that's happening. Okay. So I think sixth period got a little bit ahead of you guys. Let me see, because this is as far as we got in, unless I forgot to save, which is very likely. Okay. How far did we get on the retro line in class? Did we get to making all four pieces? Yeah, okay, we're good. All right, so quick recap on that. Kind of as you guys are learning more vocab in Illustrator, what each of the tools are. Your selection tool is V on your keyboard. That's the one that you use to just move pieces around as a whole. You can move these entireties of these paths. That's going to move a single rectangle because these aren't joined together. You can select multiple things and move them all at once. Cool part about the selection tool is you do not need to select the entire shape. You can just select a straight line across it. And since they're paths, it's going to assume that you want the whole thing. And it's not just going to take a set of like pixels or whatever, wherever you selected. Okay, to make your corner points, we're going to use the selection tool's cousin, which is the direct selection tool. This one is for manipulating singular anchor points. So anchor points, if we zoom in on this shape right here, and you click on it, you can see this blue. It's kind of hard to see with the black and white. But there's a blue square with a blue circle inside of it and a bunch of small white squares around the outer edge. We'll go general to specific here. The blue box is called a bounding box because it shows the bounds, kind of the fence that contains the entirety of your path. And the path is the relationship between anchor points. Anchor points are always going to be square. Whenever I move these, you can see that the math is going to adjust and to change the, oh, there we go. It's going to change the way that the shape is perceived. Sometimes it'll fold it over on itself. But if you want to manipulate singular anchor points instead of moving them, you press A on your keyboard to get your direct selection tool. This will allow you, once you double click on an anchor, double click on any square, that will allow you to freely move these around and the computer is going to respond however you tell it to, basically. Whatever parameters you're adjusting, that's going to become what you're moving with the direct selection tool. And the reason I'm going over the direct selection tool is because this is how you make all of your corner pieces. So you can double click on, remember you want to think of the circle anchor points like on a compass. So you can click on the northmost anchor point or whichever one you want, but I'm going to do the north one, for example. And then when you press delete, backspace also works, but I find delete to be a little more consistent. If you hit the delete key, that's going to take away that anchor point, remove that data from your expression here, and give you your macaroni, your half pipe, the 1/2 piece. Something to be aware of, if yours is looking like this, if yours is folding over on itself, it might just be because your path is too short. If you're noticing this with your shape, that means you need to make your path a little bit larger so that it has the full ability to kind of show off all of its parts here. Okay, so a big thing in graphic design is being efficient. We already have this half piece, and if we're going to make a corner piece, we don't want to go through the whole process of deleting it and then trying to adjust it, yada, yada. We're just going to take a copy of this macaroni by holding the Alt key on our keyboard and then clicking and dragging. That's going to drag off a duplicate of whatever path you have in front of you. So like if I take my brush tool, for example, and I make a brush, if I hold Alt and I click and drag, it's going to copy whatever brush path I've created there. So to do that, or the reason we're doing that is because we've already got something configured in the way that we want it to be configured. Let's just skip a step and get right to the next part so that they relate as closely as possible. To get the corner piece, it's exactly the same process. We're going to take the direct selection tool and click on one of these top 2 anchor points. You can tell that we've got the anchor selected because it says anchor when you hover over. Double click on that. You'll see 2 lines appear. These are your handles. You can adjust the curve. We'll get into that more with the pen tool. But click on the anchor and press delete. That's going to get us a really nice corner piece that should line up perfectly with our other one. When you're going to rotate a shape, if I zoom in here, I can't make my cursor any bigger, but you see the little right angle arrow that looks a lot like this switch, fill, and stroke icon? That's going to be how you rotate your paths. And if you want your paths to snap, I think it's to 15-degree increments. While you're clicking and dragging, hold shift, and it's going to snap around the edge. All right. And then finally, the last piece we need to make is the 3/4 piece. This one's a little bit more involved. So let's go over here to our final circle. We'll just leave those 2 off to the side. Our final circle, we're going to take we're going to actually click and hold on the eraser tool. And we're going to use the scissors tool. You can also press C on your keyboard to get right to the scissors tool. But before we do that, sorry, I skipped a step. We actually need to have the path selected. By clicking on it, our bounding box appears. Now Illustrator knows what to focus on. So I press C on my keyboard. You'll notice this little icon right here is going to change to a pair of scissors. You want to, if you go along the path, you can see the pink word path appear along this blue line that's between the anchor points. We want to put we want to add a point or a scissors at least. Let me see what happens when nope, that's not what we want. Sorry, hold on. I keep forgetting the order of steps. It's Monday. I'm warming up as well. We're actually going to take the pen tool, which is P on your keyboard, and we're going to follow along that path line. And until you hit about, if we're sticking with the compass directions, here's north, here's west, right at the northwest kind of middle. If you click with the pen tool, P on your keyboard, you just click right there. It's going to add an anchor point. Now we take our direct selection tool, we click on that anchor point, and we press delete. And that will get us our 3/4 piece. And you can combine these together. They should be about the same size. And it's going to very easily allow you to build out your retro line design for that first part. And they should match up pretty close because they're all from the same, they're a little bit off, but that's okay. They're all from the same sort of copy. All right, vectorizing, you have to take your image and you have to set it to a template. So we're going to quickly move on to the next part here. Vectorizing, it's really important that you're keeping an eye on your layers panel. And I'll help you guys with all this individually. I just want to get it on video so you have a chance to go back and reference later on. Okay, so when you vectorize something, that's when you take it from an image and you turn it into a vector that is a lot more easy to share and resize just in case you ever need to. So with an image, you want to get it downloaded or take a picture of your drawing, for example, that you're trying to vectorize and upload it to your computer. And you're going to go to File and then Place. You would think you could just click and drag the image into Illustrator, which you can do, But file place does what's called embedding the image, where it kind of bakes it into the file so that you have that image accessible later on. So let me just go to my OneDrive. I know there's a picture in here somewhere. We'll go, okay, I gotta go back a little bit because apparently none of my pictures saved. One sec. Set projects, rebrand. Let's take this B. Okay, so imagine I'm gonna vectorize this B image. I'm gonna click on the place button, and that's gonna attach whatever image I'm trying to draw to my cursor. And when I click in the space, it's gonna fill out, or it's gonna place it actual size in my workspace here. I'm pressing spacebar to get the little hand tool, which allows me to drag around my canvas. And then anytime I want to rescale an image in Illustrator, I have to hold Shift. Because if I don't hold Shift, this is me not holding Shift, it's going to mess with my image's proportions. However, since I haven't let go of the mouse, I can still press Shift, and it's going to snap it to the correct size. So I just want to hold Shift, resize that down so that it fits inside of my artboard. That's the term for the canvas that we're working with here. And then to start vectorizing, we need to open up our layers panel, which is these little two kind of stacks right here on the right-hand side of your screen. So you click on that. It's going to show you that on layer one, it's kind of like stacks of papers going from bottom to top. On layer one is our image. We need to first create a second layer to draw on. It's kind of like laying our piece of tracing paper over. And then set the image to a template so that it becomes traceable. So I'm going to click on this plus button right here. Looks a lot like the plus button on the art brush tool, because a lot of the Adobe products have the same kind of icons and buttons throughout them. You click on the plus button, that's going to add a blank layer. Nothing's going to change visually, but you can see now that there is a layer 2 inside of our space here. The next step to lock and lower our vectorizing image, because we don't want it scooting around when we're trying to trace over it. You're going to double click in this empty space right next to the word layer 1. When you double click on that, you're going to be presented with this layer options box. All we're going to do is click this box that says templates and then click OK. That's going to lock and lower our image, and we can't drag it around anymore. But since we can't drag it around anymore, if I press B on my keyboard to go to my brush tool, you'll notice it has this pencil with the no sign on it. It's because with a template layer, you cannot make any edits. It's the whole point of locking and lowering it. It just keeps it kind of frozen so that you can't do anything with it until you unlock it. That's why we made that second layer. That's our piece of tracing paper. So you notice when I go to layer 2, my thing becomes a brush with a little asterisk to means to start a new path. And now I can start tracing over my shape. So when you're tracing, you want to start with the big shapes first. I'm going to go for the B kind of abdomen right here because it's going to be a nice easy curve. I'm going to click and drag with my paintbrush tool. Let go right there. Click and drag with my paintbrush tool just as if I was tracing it right there. When you're vectorizing, you want to have a lot of different strokes so that in case you ever have to undo, you have a lot of options to go back from, and you're not completely losing all of your progress. So I'm just kind of generally tracing the big parts that communicate what my shape is as much as I can. We're just going to do the B abdomen for example, for right now. Just following along the lines with my pen tool on that second layer, because then when I turn off the image, I will be left behind with the trace that I can freely resize however I need to. So we're going very fast because I want to be able to help you guys individually. And then also just more Adobe kind of Illustrator reminders. Anytime you look up here and next to your file name, unless it says untitled 1, that means you haven't saved. There's an asterisk next to the AI. If I hover over it, you can see it too. That means you have not hit Control S yet, the keystroke for save. So it's going to Control S real fast. That asterisk is going to go away. If you haven't saved it yet, it's going to ask you to save it to your computer, which is where it goes into your OneDrive. Make sure that that OneDrive is syncing. And then it's just your progress is saved. You won't lose what you've been working. Third and finally, the mountain logo. This is one that you guys are completing on your own. If I go into the graphic design canvas real quick, you go into student view. Bless you. In the modules, and we go down to week 2, because we're still working on week 2's project. I need to add our week 3 module. But we have the line project right here. That's where you'll submit it. You can see the due date's been extended. To get to the mountain logo, you go to Unit 1 line, right here, this page right at the top. And then the mountain logo artwork tutorial is this one right here. The reason I had you guys do this one third and have you do it on your own is so that you can practice following along with extra tutorials and other ways of presenting these ideas. And you can also experiment with how you work in Illustrator on your own. Before I help you guys, before I start wandering around, does anybody have any questions that I can answer right now that aren't specific to your use case? All good? Okay, cool. If you've already finished from last week, you have these extra challenges you can attempt, or you could find a tutorial of your own that you want to give a shot to. You have the basics of a lot of the most frequently used tools for Illustrator that you can follow along with. And the next project we're going to be getting into involves more of the design process with some sketching, with some vectorizing. We're going to do some critiquing and stuff. And that's going to be logos as our next thing that we're moving on to. Sound good? All right, cool. I'm going to wrap this up, process this, and then I'll help you guys with this remaining 30 minutes here. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it very much. Let me close this.